Hello and welcome, everybody. Happy Thursday. And I think this Thursday is one where we're all much happier, aren't we? We've got a line of sight to get back out, to start to see the world. And I know for lots of us, and I'm sure, Sam, you are feeling this, knowing that our children are going to be going back to school is just such a relief for so many of us, not just for what they're going to be able to get out of now being reconnected socially, but also the ability to be able to work again without having to balance geometry or algebra or any of the other things that make me glad that my little girl's 4.5 and hasn't got there yet, because I'm not sure I'd manage it. And today we're joined by the lovely Jackie Lawson. Thank you for coming. And I'll properly introduce her shortly. But before I do, let me go to you lovely ladies. And I'm going to start with you, Penny. How's your week going, lovely?
Very well. Can you hear me?
I can.
So anybody watching the show, if I do suddenly duck out, it's because I'm having a bit of a problem with my microphone. So I don't want to just stare and smile and not want to talk. So, but my week's going well. I actually started the week. It's funny. I did start a bit low this week. I had to kick myself a bit to get my mojo going. I think I had this real sense of Groundhog Day, which hadn't affected. I haven't had that for a year nearly, but I really did get the sense. I think it started off with Thomas and I laughing about it, about here we go again. And then I started thinking, oh my God, this really is Groundhog Day. And so I had to really kick myself a bit with my mojo. And as a result of that, I actually did a show on Clubhouse about mojo, which was really interesting. And I'm two ladies said the way they're managing their mojo is actually not in the workplace. They're quite happy with their work like I am. It's being creative with their free time. Yeah. So that really gave me some thoughts, because I think I'm not probably being creative enough around the free time I have. But I think once it gets lighter after work, I'll do more, I think. But yeah, it's been a good week. It has actually been a really enjoyable week. I think, like you said at the beginning, there is a real sense that we can see the pathway out. It just might be a little bit long still, but we can see it.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I think sometimes we do have that hit, don't we, on our mojo. I know I had it hit me one day last week where I'd been really positive every other day. Then somebody said something, I just wanted to cry. So where's that come from? And so I was fine again the next day, but it was almost that moment of overwhelm when you just have to go, I just need to allow myself to just feel this and then move on. So I'm glad it's worked for you and had that boost. So Sam, go on. How excited are you, my love?
Oh my God. I saw an amazing post on Facebook earlier, actually. I'll share it with you ladies when we finish, but it was a picture of a doorway with a mother ushering out her 2 children, obviously dressed for school. Don't worry, it's not until the 8th of March. It's a long walk. Off you go. Can I get away with that one? So yeah, obviously I'm very excited about the 8th of March, more so for my little one, to be perfectly serious. He is bored and he needs stimulation. So for his own up here, he needs to go back to school. But yeah, it's been a great week. I do feel, and I am always a glass half full person, but I do feel that actually I'm better not knowing these dates, because now I just want to get there. I'm such an impatient one that it's like I want to get to the 8th. I want to get to the 12th of April. I want to get to the 29th. I just want to get there now. Whereas before, I was quite happy knowing this was life. But now I know that there is a new life coming. I just want to get to that new bit. So I'm feeling quite impatient this week. But other than that, it's been a great week. Thank you, Kim.
Oh, but I love it. Positive impatience. I mean, that's got to be a way forward, hasn't it? Caroline, my love, how about you?
Well, patience is a superpower, Sam, and I call it urgent patience, which is when you really want something and you know you're excited, but there's an urgency to it, but you have to be patient, because after all, this is another day of our life that we'll never have back again. So in order to get our mojo back, you have to build in moments of bliss, which of course I diarise, as you know, my pink space. So on the hour, I have a moment of ecstasy. Sorry.
How do we follow that, my love? God.
And it is building in your joy and happiness. And no, there's nothing under my seat, I can assure you. And it's like burning my beautiful candles, walking around my garden, using my gorgeous stationery, playing some nice music, putting some perfume on the hour, a little moment to refresh, a moment of bliss. So take it out there, your non-negotiable me time, which we discussed last week, but have bliss points during the day. It's very reasonable, very cheap, and it keeps you topped up with joy. That's my take on it anyway. So that's what I do today, to make the day meaningful. Have little lovely things on the hour that you look forward to.
That is really, really great advice. And I definitely am missing those moments of ecstasy in mine. So I'm going to get them in, albeit I do have this as thanks to you. So I've got beautiful aroma that really keeps me grounded, as long as I remember not to keep it on too long and it chokes me out. So we should, creating that really lovely space where you can just feel centered and give yourself that time is really important to all of us. And talking about lovely things, what better way to segue into introducing our amazing guest, the lovely Jackie Larson, who is an award-winning independent fine jeweller and board member of the London Diamond Bourse. She was shortlisted as finalist in the Best Businesswomen Awards 2020, the winners of which are announced next month. And we have our fingers crossed for you, Jackie. I'm sure you will win it. And named as one of the UK's 100 most inspirational female entrepreneurs by Small Business Britain. And just has the most fascinating story. So we've met a while ago and I was just so thrilled to talk to you and learn more about your journey, but I'm not going to spoil it for our viewers because Jackie, it's over to you. If you could share with us, please, your journey so far.
Well, I think in many respects, it's not unlike a lot of other professional women. So I originally trained as a chartered accountant in Australia and worked at various points around the world with that in that role, and found myself in London, got married, had kids, and at that point in time decided to become a full-time mother, and actually found the change incredibly different. I was super busy, but I really missed that intellectual challenge and the sort of social aspects as well of being in a sort of more standard work environment. And just by coincidence, really, became aware that you could become credentialed in gemstones and jewelry. And that was revelatory to me, and was fortunate enough to find a program that was flexible so I could do it around the children. So I would study at nights and on weekends. And it was like an epiphany, just, and I hadn't done it with any vocational intent. I'd done it because I was just genuinely fascinated and actually quite obsessive about gems and jewelry. And I was really good at it. And so quite by accident, just sort of started to find this new path, and was fortunate to get an internship at the Diamond Trading Company, which at that time was the sales and marketing arm of De Beers, and had these incredible experiences there. They were so generous with what they shared with us. So I was sorting rough and polished diamonds, studying the supply chain. We had tutors there from Namibia and Botswana, so we really got a much better understanding of how the diamond supply chain affected people in those communities and a lot of the positive aspects that it had on their lives. And very sort of factual things like how they consider transforming a piece of diamond rough into a polished stone, and the sort of thought processes and decisions they have to make. So very unique experiences and insights, so that when I subsequently sat my exams, I ended up being awarded the prestigious Deeks Diamond Prize. Because I got the highest marks in the world. And to be honest, I've been educated up to my eyeballs, but nothing lit my burners until I was really doing this. And it just very naturally, organically became a business proposition. So people started approaching me saying, you know all this stuff, can you source me this? Can you make me that? And so that's how it's, and I think at that point in time, creating bespoke jewelry accessibly was actually a little bit unusual. You didn't have the big jewelry sort of, the fashion houses weren't doing jewelry then in the way they are now. And bespoke jewelry was very much something for people who had exceptionally big budgets. And this was something where most middle-class people could actually pursue something very personal and distinctive. And so that was really how it started, just through a labor of love and pursuing something that I was just genuinely invested in.
I love it. And I mean, just the fact that you love what you do is so inspiring, because I think, I mean, we were saying this before we started chatting, wasn't it? Which is when you love something, you can't help but be enthused, and the people around you become enthused, because that love, that passion just comes out. And I think, you know, what's really interesting is that it sounds like almost the business came from the customers. So it's almost like the customers created the business. Whereas I know for a lot of business owners, the challenge is the other way, isn't it? They've got the business and they're kind of almost the, how do I go and get the customers? So how have you grown your business?
Well, originally it started in London.
Mm-hmm.
And it had lovely traction really right from the word go, but we moved to the Netherlands not long afterwards with my husband's business. And that seemed at that stage like a really retrograde step for me. But I love the expression, when a door closes, a window opens. And if you have this sort of positive mindset, it ended up being a complete game changer for me, because there are some incredible suppliers that are based on the continent who I would never have come across had we not moved there. And also I tapped into my perfect crowd, this expat crowd who were, you know, quite affluent, but adventurous and curious, and rather define themselves by having things that other people didn't have, rather than having the bogs, not needing that sort of brand validation. And so it was really a perfect audience and something that I could manage around the kids. But funnily enough, when we then moved back to the UK, I took a sabbatical. And when I went to relaunch the business, it was really difficult, because things had moved on beyond, the whole retail landscape had changed, consumers' behaviors had changed. And the whole marketing concept, so social media, had really taken hold then. And so my business in its previous sort of structure really wasn't relevant anymore. So I had to, it was a period of sort of great uncertainty, of self-doubt, because I had these fantastic credentials, but I really couldn't get that sort of momentum. And of course, I didn't have that network that I'd had when I was abroad. It was really starting from scratch. And so I needed to rebrand, and it was a very hard but worthwhile exercise, because if you do it properly, you need to be very clear on what your values are, who your, you know, ideal client is, what they want, where they hang out, how you're going to communicate to them. And once you get all those pieces very clear and coherent, then the rest of it all just sort of follows. So, and then it just sort of slowly went from strength to strength. And then I was, you know, invited to apply for membership at the Bourse, and then sort of more recently became a board member. So it's been a real mix of starting up with lots of momentum, then taking time out when things just moved on so quickly, and then having to really make sure that you know, you commit to a lifetime of learning. It just keeps evolving, and you can never be sort of static and have a status quo type mindset.
That's really interesting, Jackie. And as you said, different markets when you were in the Netherlands, different to when you came back to the UK. I was on the Eurostar over a year ago, and I sat opposite a woman who worked for Cartier, and she was about to look at one of the staff who was about to launch a private collection at the Louvre that evening with private buyers. And she let me see some of the pieces, which were astonishing and the most elaborate things I've ever seen in my life. But she was saying that people are moving away from diamonds now and more into gemstones like pearls, coral, amethyst. Are you seeing that because of the sustainability, but also just for fashion's sake, going for more colourful gems?
Everyone has their own unique language of jewelry. And in fact, I think one of the things that makes me a little bit different is I really invest time in my clients to understand what they want their jewelry to say. But I think you can say quite generally, people are much more relaxed about jewelry nowadays. So rather than it being considered something special that is only brought out for special occasions and kept in the safe and so on, they get pleasure from it. And when we were talking earlier about taking pleasure in the little things, every hour enjoying things that are around you. And I think a lot of that can be said for jewelry as well. So when I first moved into jewelry, the thing that I was really in love with were diamonds. And what came as a shock to me was how I fell in love with colored stones. And there is such an allure about them. The organic gems like pearls, coral, there are actually certain aspects of that we do need to be careful about in terms of sustainability and so on. And there are some fantastic suppliers who increasingly are making a name for themselves about having, traceable, accountable supply chains. And so I think it's a combination of all of these factors, with people being much more relaxed about jewelry, being open to different styles and so on, and feeling that they can express themselves through jewelry as well.
But it's nice to have daytime jewels and evening jewels, isn't it? So if you're going to have a big diamond necklace, which one day, who knows, but you're only going to get it out maybe once or twice a year. But if you've got, one of my favorite jewels is this little girasol, a little fire opal, I can wear it every day and I love it. It's very personal to me and it means a lot. And you can wear kind of gemstones more than you would formal jewels, I guess.
But, this is where I think things have really changed as well. When I talked about people having their own sort of unique jewelry language, I've got a fabulous cocktail ring. I can wear it during the day, wear it at night. I don't actually draw a distinction between it being just for special occasions. And I think increasingly people are taking that view as well, that they want to wear it all the time and really love wearing it. And I love that. So it's liberating.
Yeah, no, it's fab, isn't it? Because I think we want to, and particularly at the minute, we kind of want to be able to get dressed up and go out. I mean, seriously, sometimes when I'm nipping off to Asda or Sainsbury's, you'd think I was going out for the night. Just because we want those moments, don't we, where we get to express ourselves. But Sam, I think you've got a question, haven't you?
Yeah, it was just really interesting that you mentioned, you pretty much said every day is a learning day and we have to keep learning and keep improving our knowledge and skills. But what is the one thing in your journey so far that you have learned? What's been your biggest learning in business so far?
Certainly the biggest challenge has been having to wear so many different hats simultaneously, having to have a really outstanding and varied skill set. And, I'm effectively head of sales, head of marketing, FD, CEO, head of strategy, and I think you have to be willing to go outside your comfort zone and just keep learning. And in fact, part of the upside of lockdown for me, I almost considered it a gift of time, because we all have those times where we think, if only I had an extra day or a few extra hours, I'd love to do this or love to do that. And there were loads of webinars and other sorts of learning opportunities. And it really allowed me to up and elevate my skills in a lot of these different areas. So for me personally, it's prioritizing those things and really trying until you get to a point where you're scaling up the business and you can share a lot of these responsibilities.
Yeah,
it's
I think
balance as well, which is the eternal challenge, as we all know, sort of women having a business and a personal life, trying to make it all work.
Yeah, I think you're right. The last 12 months has taught us that we've got to keep learning, and Kim has taught us girls that in the Blondes, because she has just absolutely pushed us in terms of technology. We spoke about it before, haven't we? But we've had to learn so much and we have to continue to. And technology has been the biggest thing in the last 12 months. What's going to be the next 12 months? But there will be something, won't there, that we have to keep learning. If not, we stand still, like you said, Jackie.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go on, Kim.
So I was going to say it's so true. You know, my nan used to say every day's a school day, and God bless her, she was right, because I think we have to keep that bit going, don't we? And it's how best we balance that.
But I think also making sure that the experience for your clients and their digital journey with your business is as good as it can be. So that was something else that I worked on. I'd always spent some time on SEO, but I really invested a lot of time making sure that it was as good as it could be, and automating a lot of features so that you want your client to have the best experience that they can, and often the things that are available to you continue to change. So like you say, I'm just always having to be aware, is there something better that I can be doing to improve that experience for them?
I was going to ask, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sorry, everybody. I had to just go for a kick my computer. I think they call it a reboot. I use this.
Literally.
Yes. I don't know whether this question's been asked, but we've got a lot of people I'm talking to at the moment. They're talking about they're quite in transition with their lives. So I don't know whether you've talked about that, but I find it incredible when somebody can take such a big about turn and change their career. Have you talked about that already? Did you talk about that when I was away for 5 minutes? No, good. I'm just really interested, because that must have taken quite a lot of courage, doesn't it, Jackie, to do that?
Funnily enough, it actually just seemed the most normal. Once I started doing it, as I said, it really was an epiphany. It was like, this is what I should always have been doing. And it's not just with me, it's with most people I speak to. I find that throughout your life, all the experiences that you have all cumulatively give you this really unique skill set. Nothing is wasted. So a lot of the skills that I had in professional services as a chartered accountant, things like client management, project management, all those sorts of, and obviously the accounting skills as well, really helped me with what I'm doing at present. And you can learn as much by how somebody does something badly as well as what they do well, so that I'm really not going to do that if I can at all avoid it. And so for me, actually, the biggest challenge was that the diamond industry is very secretive and very opaque. And I come out of left field with this. I'm not the sort of standard participant in the industry. And in some respects, that was a blessing, and in others a curse, because they will have all this knowledge that I've had to work very, very hard to acquire. But the upside was I never do things just for the sake of doing it, because it's always been done that way. So it was really coming to it with a fresh set of eyes. And that means that you can dispense with a lot of unnecessary periphery. So it wasn't actually a terrifying thing. It was actually quite exciting, because it meant that I was moving into something that I was genuinely invested and fascinated by.
Mm. And the journey, how long did, from when you decided, right, I'm going to do it, to when you were actually able to say, I've got a commercial business, how long was that journey?
Well, I started studying part-time and then finished in a much more intense way. So that took about 3 to 4 years. And so I'm not a goldsmith. My expertise are the stones. And so if I'm going to do something, I really like to do it well. And so there's also that element of researching. Anybody that forms part of my supply chain is excellent. So it doesn't matter whether they're an engraver, a setter, a goldsmith, packaging, anything. And that takes time. And so it was probably about 4 years from the time that I first started studying until I really did that first commission. And of course, when I think where I was then and where I am now, there's a huge learning curve since then as well.
Yeah, phenomenal. It's really inspiring, because I did a bit of an about turn in my business life, but it wasn't that huge 3 years ago. And so I just admire you so much for following that. I think it's almost like that positive surrender of something that's not working for you, and saying, I'm going to I'm just going to go because we only have one life. But I know, Carol-Anne, you have people coming to you all the time trying to see how they can improve their life. It just is so brave and so beautiful, really, when somebody does it. It's such a great role model for, you know, in terms of you being on podcasts and shows and things, such a great role model for people at the moment who think, I've got to return to normal, but actually I've discovered I don't really like what I was doing, but there's no other choice for me. And I think it's wonderful what you've done to indicate to people that you can absolutely change your life. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm so much happier as well. You know, that expression, when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. I mean, my earning capacity is nothing like what it would have been had I continued down a safer route. But it's so much more rewarding. And I think also in a sense, you create a legacy. You know, every piece of jewelry that I create has my sponsor's mark on it. So there's a little piece of you that you leave with people. And I think jewelry is inextricably linked to those personal significant events in our life. And so there's something ultimately joyful when you collaborate with somebody in producing this. It's really quite special.
Yeah, beautiful.
Such an amazing
vision board over my. Sorry, Kim. I have a vision board over my desk here, and I have to tell you, Jackie, it is covered in jewels, tiaras, rings, and all sorts of gorgeous wealth and imagery, and topazes, rubies, amber, coral, all over my vision board, because I'm so excited.
You're my kind of lady, Carol-Anne. I love the sound of that.
I'm coming. And I actually tell my clients, absolutely true, to buy a tiara, okay? And 2 of my ladies have bought tiaras, and I say, wear your tiara, because it's probably the most useless bit of kit you can ever have. You don't need a tiara, but I tell you what, when you put one on, hey girl, you've got your crown on, you've got your sassy on. So when I say to them, put your tiara on today, and they say it works, and you can get them on Amazon, and they're under £20 or 15 or 50 or 100. So wear your tiara, because it's jewellery. It makes you feel fantastic. And
do you know that it's an International Tiara Day?
I'll tell you about it. I'm there. When is it?
Now you've got. I think it's June, July time. I need to double check, but I've got it on my social calendar because I will definitely be posting about it.
There's something about putting your crown on. It just makes you feel fantastic. And I too wear cocktail jewelry during the day, so I just love it. Wear it, adore it. You work hard for it. Go and see Jackie, everyone. Go and get something made. Absolutely. You have my permission.
I love the whole putting your tiara on. Carol-Anne, you'll be pleased to know Scarlett is absolutely in your camp. She constantly is trying to have me in a tiara, and I embarrassingly was still wearing it the other day when I got on a Zoom call, but remembered just in time, so managed to pull that back. Jackie, we could literally chat to you all day. I've just realised that we're almost running out of time, so I'm going to have to ask everybody really quick, and could you give me your top tip? So Jackie, starting with you before I go on to the rest, what's your one top tip for people today?
To be insatiably curious and not be afraid of change, because typically I find that people who welcome it spot opportunity in times of flux, which I think the last 12 months has been very illustrative with.
Brilliant. Great advice. Penny, my love, how about you?
I'm going to follow that, but just say, you know, if there's anything in your life that's draining you, stop it. Just become aware of that and stop it. And have the courage to take that out of your life.
Fabulous, great advice. Stuart has kindly let us know that it's May the 24th for International Tiara Day, so let's have that in our calendars, ladies. And Stuart,
close to my birthday. There's a message in that.
Isn't it? That was amazing. I love it. Couldn't be better timed. Sam, my lovely, how about you?
Well, I'm going to follow wear that crown with wear that suit, because that's my mantra a lot in my coaching sessions. You've got to own it, you know, put that metaphorical suit on every morning, whatever role you're in, whether you're bossing it as a mum or whether you're a CEO, just put it on, own it, and swagger in with that confidence, because you got there because you deserve it.
I love it. Great advice. Carol-Anne, my love, how about you?
Yeah, of course, building your bliss. build in that bliss, diarise it, whether it's a bit of aromatherapy oil, a walk around the garden, a lovely cake. It's up to you to build the bliss. It won't just come.
I love it. Honestly, such an amazing show. Thank you, ladies. It's been a joy. I think we've got such great advice out of all of this. So it's making sure that we stay positive, that we own it, that we celebrate the things that we enjoy. When we love what we do, we can't help but inspire others. And to find those moments of ecstasy, which hopefully we can all have in our everyday. So if you would like to join us here and take Jackie's seat, then please do get in touch at www.businessblondes.tv. And in the interim, have an amazing, blissful and ecstatic week. And we look forward to seeing you here next week and wear that crown. Take care.